Welcome to Brain Strength. This is a series where this average Joe teaches you a thing or two about sports psychology, so hopefully you can be the best version of yourself. I'm your host, RJ Lynch, and with my master's in sports psychology, let's get this show on the road. In this episode of Brain Strength, we are going to be focusing on the idea of teamwork, a component in sports that's important for pretty much everybody. Even professional tennis athletes who are generally singles, on occasion you might be a doubles. Even track athletes who are generally by themselves. You might have to be put on relays. Eventually you might have dreams of representing your country in the Olympics. Or just in general, you train with other people, you have a camp that you work with, and you have a team that's put there together. Very few people, very few athletes are just on themselves. And by that point, it means they're on a team. If they have a team, they need teamwork. So what is teamwork? What does that all mean? It's the ability to work together to achieve a common goal, cooperate and coordinate together to enhance performance. Most of us at some point have been on a team, whether it's for work, whether it's for school, whether it's in sport. You understand you're all trying to go towards one single goal. You're trying to help each other. You're trying to raise the bar so that all of you perform your best, so that when you face others, you can overcome them as a challenge. Now, what builds a successful team? Successful teams are built on trust, respect, and that commitment to a shared goal. If you trust the people around you, it means you don't have to worry about what they're doing. You don't have to worry about, are they doing their job? Are they doing things right? If you respect one another, it means that you're going to talk to each other. It means that you can communicate points, give feedback, speak appropriately, work together and not want to throw punches. And if you're committed to a shared goal, it means that the arrow is going in a single direction. You're all rowing the boat one way, and you're not just going around in circles. So what do winning teams look like? And more importantly, what does the winning teammate look like? To be a winning team, you have to have winning teammates, right? Well, a winning team communicates clearly and frequently. They're sharing information in constructive ways. They're talking to one another. None of us are perfect. All of us have strengths and weaknesses. So a winning teammate is going to help talk you through your weaknesses, help you grow, help you see things from a different perspective, help you understand why this might have gone wrong or this needs to be corrected. Winning teams trust each other to perform their roles. So a winning teammate does their role. If you're there on a basketball court and your main job is to dish assist, to get rebounds, then you get the assists and the rebounds. It might look cooler to fill out the box score with 100 points, but if the attempt to get to 100 points costs your team in other ways, you're not doing your role. You're not filling out that piece. You're trying to make it about you and what you want instead of what the team is. So a good teammate fills their role. A winning team trusts each other that they're all going to do their role. The best teams tend to adapt together and adjust in a dynamic manner. Many of us at some point or another might have experienced the idea of flow or being in the zone. Those moments where things just kind of happen. Like you don't think about what you're doing, you just do it and it turns out great. If you watch some of the great teams, things just seem to happen. They know where their teammates are going to be at any given point. Their teammates know that whoever has the ball, the puck, whatever it might be, is going to pass them at the right moment so that they can make the next play. There's this group flow going on, and they're adapting. They're able to recognize things, sometimes without speaking. Sometimes they just know because they trust each other to do their roles. They've communicated, and they've put in the work, and they're all going towards that one goal. So things just flow. They support one another. Now, to be on a team, you don't have to necessarily like everybody perfectly. You don't have to hang out all the time, be the best of buds in each other's wedding that one day, but you at least should support each other. When you have a bad game, when you have something go poorly, there should be this expectation that your teammates are going to rally around you to help each other. My most proud moment as a coach is also sometimes the saddest. When an athlete performs poorly or becomes injured, I'm very proud when I see my other athletes rally around that person. When they have that friend or those people that come up to cheer them up, to say things that me as the coach can't always say. I'm no longer that same age bracket. I don't connect the same way to high school kids as I did when I was in high school. So it's such a proud moment when I see the other people I'm coaching rally around that one athlete that became hurt, or the seniors who lost on senior night. When the other people rally around them, it might be a sad moment, but it's also a moment of pride because you know you have a good team there. Winning teams are going to share responsibility. If you notice, one of the biggest signs that a team's faltering is when they're blaming each other, like this person did this wrong, this person did that wrong. When they're pointing fingers, the team's falling apart. When they're together, when they're stronger together, they say, it's my bad, it's on me, and any issues they have stay within the team. They take accountability in public, and in private, they handle any things that need to be handled. And then they compete to grow together. Every sport, if there's a team, are going to have people that are the varsity levels, the top level guys. And there's the people below them trying to get there. And the people below there see the people above them as something that they want to achieve. Not necessarily their enemy that they have to overcome. No, they see this as competition to strive together, that I'm going to bring my best, you better bring your best, and whoever's best turns out is going to be the one who starts. And if I keep working on being my best every day so that I can overcome their best, both of us are going to get better. We're constantly pushing ourselves to stay at that high level of expertise instead of I just have to be better than that person. It doesn't matter how good I am, I just have to be better than them. Instead of, if I bring my best, I'm going to be where I have to be. And if I keep bringing my best, I'm just going to get better. So then what does a destructive bad team look like? The opposite. They're unwilling to share critical information. They don't talk to each other. They just kind of stare and look at each other. Instead of when a teammate gets subbed out, coming to explain to the person being subbed in what their matchup looks like, how things might be, some weaknesses they notice in their opponent, they just brush on by. They just pout because they get taken out. They're second guessing. And there's a fragmentation of effort. So what does that mean? It means I don't trust that you're going to fill your role, so now I have to partially worry about your role, maybe do your role, so that we can maybe do something. They're unable to adapt, or they create more issues. When things start going wrong, when things happen, nobody wants to change. They just think, well, it's their fault that we're like this, so I'm not going to change. I'm not going to do anything differently. I'm just going to keep doing my stuff, and they got to raise the standard. And that doesn't help anybody. Destructive teams will have members who feel isolated or burnt out. They'll resent and blame one another. And when they're competing, when they're trying to take over the starting spot, they're competing to dominate instead of competing to grow and to become better versions of each other. Instead of competing to push each other, they're just competing to be better than their teammates. So a little bit of the science bits, understanding teamwork. You have the idea of team cohesion, how the team works together. It can be done in one of two ways. Personally, great teams have a mixture of both, but don't necessarily have to. There's big examples where it's not true, but I think the best teams, the dynasty teams, usually have a little bit of both. So the first piece is task cohesion. Task cohesion is how well the team works together towards a goal. So when you're on the court, when you're on the field, when you're on the rink, whatever it might be, how good are you at working as a unit towards that single goal of winning the game, of getting towards this, winning the championship? Social cohesion on the other stuff is how well do you communicate? How well do you work together on things outside of sport? Do you like talking to each other? Do you like supporting each other emotionally? Do you go to the movies together, grab food, whatever it is? Do you like being around each other as people, or do you only hang out when you're trying to be the athlete? Like I said, I think great teams like each other as people and athletes, but it's not always the case. The other piece is social identity theory. So social identity is this idea of how do we identify ourselves? Do we see ourselves as a friend, brother, sister, whatever? Do we see ourselves as students, as workers? Do we see ourselves as an athlete? How do we view ourselves as a human being? Combination of all. Well, when you have someone who at least partially identifies themselves with, I am an athlete for X team, I am part of this team. If they are going to say, like, I am part of this team, They're going to work better with the team because they want to, because it's part of who they are. And vice versa, if you have a team that is built around a culture of teamwork, of acceptance, of people wanting to be there, everybody else is more likely to identify with the team. And when they identify, they do better for the team. And it works back and forth, side to side, until you just have a great team that likes each other, wants to be there, and wants to be great. So as a mental performance pro, what would I do with either individual athletes or teams to help build teamwork? The first thing I always like to do when I'm brought into a team for a long-term thing is culture meetings. I want teams to come in and tell me, what's the culture that you're looking for? What is it? What are the goals, values? What are the things about this team that make it what it needs to be? As part of those culture meetings, I do a lot of personal disclosure, mutual sharing. This idea that you build teamwork, you build team cohesion by sitting there and talking to one another. Shocker, I know. You start to like each other more by talking to one another. Mind blown, I know. Then as a team, we might do different drills, such as blindfold, partner drills, or cooperative fitness drills. Basically things where I'm having you rely on your teammate, and if you don't, you're going to fail the drill. Then from an individual standpoint, I might have an athlete write out an end of the year speech or end of career speech. What would you want your teammates to say about you at your Hall of Fame ceremony? What kind of things do you want on that plaque one day? And then you write those things out, and then we just start to create the goals of, all right, how do we do that so that your teammates see that in you? So, what can a coach do to help team build? The first piece is very big. It's role clarification. Make sure your athletes understand like what you expect out of them. What's the role that they're supposed to play? What's the role that everybody's supposed to play? You can't trust someone to do their role if no one knows what their role is supposed to be. So, and you as a coach, you have to be the one that says, this is your role. I expect you to focus on rebounds. I need you to get more assists, to be more aggressive out there. Because then if you set that standard of this is what you need to be, all the teammates can hold that person to that standard. And then the next one, partner selection. This is one that I learned from a coach during my grad school training. With his kids in the weight room, what he would do is he would take all their sheets, put them in the groups they were going to be with, and assign them to those groups so that they had to work with different people all the time. So that they had to be there like, hey, here's the youngins, you work with these people. You work with this person. You do this and that. And that just kind of created that space of you're around these people more. So by putting them in situations where they're talking to people where maybe in practice they don't talk to as much, it forces a little bit of the teamwork to build. It forces a little bit of that relationship to grow and to unify. Because then what also happens? You're creating a space of reliance. This is one that works extremely well in a weight room setting by taking the two of these together. You have assigned partners, and now what do you have to do in a weight room? You have to spot each other. You have to change weights. You have to do things where you need help. So by creating that space of reliance, you just learn to trust that person to be there for you. Create restrictions. Create drills where certain people can only do certain things, so they have to rely on it. And then lastly, hold everyone accountable, especially the leaders, especially the talented ones. Ask, what more could we have done? And then as a coach yourself, you also have to be accountable because you're part of this team. You, the strength coach, the athletic trainer, the mental performance pro, you're part of this team as well, and your teamwork matters to make this all work. Everybody in the organization has to be accountable, especially those leaders, because they're the ones that set the standard for everybody else. So that's all I have for today. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to our website, leave us a comment below. Until next time, if I say anything today that you found a bit offensive, I hope you can forgive me. And know if you say anything in the comments I find offensive, know I'll probably forgive you. Brain Strength, out.